This study is designed to help you learn how to read and write the Hebrew letters called Odiot. At the same time, I will show you how to use the Nicodot, a system of dots and dashes, to tell what the vowel sounds are in the words we encounter while we're doing this study. So, let's go. Bo Nalech. The first letter of the Aleph-Beyt is Aleph, and it is a letter that starts with a straight line. Then the next stroke is a line like a yod, and then the next line like an upside down yod. Okay, and that is our Aleph. I remember this letter because it is like the hand of man reaching up to the Father, and the hand of the Father reaching down to man, but they cannot connect because of sin. Yeshua is a vav, a staff that can connect man to the Father. Praise Abba. The first word, the first letter is Aleph, and this is how it is spelled in English. And then this is the Hebrew spelling, Aleph, Lamed, Hey. This is a Segol under the Lamed and the Kamatz under the Aleph. This is the key to helping us pronounce the word. The Kamatz has an ah sound, and so does the Patak. The difference between the Kamatz and the Patak, Kamatz has something underneath, and the Patak is just a plain line. Plain line, plain equals Patak. With a cap over a man, Kamatz. Cover, cap, Kamatz. That's how I remember. I didn't have a way I could remember those, so I came up with something where I could remember it. Okay, so the Aleph has a Kamatz, so that's the ah sound. Ah, and then the Lamed has a Segol, and a Segol represents the sound as in egg. So Segol would be the sound. So le, and then f, you have the f sound. Now the f here is one of what we call a BeGeD KeFeT, and that is an acronym to allow us to remember the letters in the Hebrew that can be pronounced two ways, either with a hard way, a plosive sound, or a soft way, a fricative sound. So, the BeGeD KeFeT represents Beyt, Gimmel, Daleth, Kaf, Fe, and Tau. I say Fe because it's F, BeGeD KeFeT. Okay. Now this is a Fe, and how do we know that this is a Fe, the fricative sound, instead of the Pe, the plosive sound? Because it does not have a dagesh in it. Okay, now, okay, if it has a dagesh in it, dagesh, not dagesh, but dagesh in it, it is the plosive sound. So that word would be Aleph, Aleph. But without the plosive sound, without the dagesh in the center, it is the fricative sound, Aleph, F. I'll go over the BeGeD KeFeT right quick for you to get an understanding of what I'm talking about here, so that you will have a better understanding as we go along in our study. The BeGeD KeFeT is simply Beyt, which could be ba, the plosive sound, or va, the fricative sound. With the ba, you pronounce it with your lips bursting open, ba, ba. And with the fricative, you pronounce it with your bottom lip up against your teeth, va, va. So that's a fricative sound. And the next is Gimmel. You don't really hear that so much, and some people just avoid it altogether. And it's up to you what you decide you do. But the Gimmel can have a g sound, and you say that by putting your tongue up against the roof of your mouth and then letting the air come out in a plosive manner, g, g. Or if you did it and didn't put your tongue completely to the roof of your mouth and you said g, 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 that is the fricative sound. And the next letter is Daleth. We have duh, duh, and we say that by putting our tongue to the roof of our mouth and then letting the plosive air come out, duh, duh. Or you can put a little less emphasis and say a sound like we're used to in English when we say the word them. So it's the. It's like you're saying the word the, T-H-E, as we speak it. The. So it's duh or the. Okay, now to the Kaf. The Kaf has a hard K sound. K, K. And again, you're putting your tongue to the roof of your mouth and saying K, a plosive sound. If you didn't put your tongue all the way to the roof of your mouth, but just slightly blocked it, it would have a H, H, H. And that would be the fricative sound. And then we have the Tau, which is T. Or and T you say by putting your tongue at the roof of your mouth and then having a plosive sound come out, T. But if we say the fricative sound, it would be the. You don't put your tongue all the way to the roof of your mouth, but just almost to the roof, giving us the ability to say the. Or to the bottom of your teeth, saying the. And that is the fricative sound of Tau. Now that we've covered that, let's go on to the next matter. Now let's look at a couple of words spelling, starting with the word of the letter Aleph. And we notice the first word has a patak under the Aleph, and then it's followed by Beyt. But note, the Beyt does not have a dagesh in the center. So if it doesn't have a dagesh in the center, then it is not plosive. It is equal to the fricative sound. A dagesh would make the B sound. B. But with no dagesh, it makes the fricative sound, the V. B with your lips together, V with your bottom lip at the bottom of your teeth. V. So that would be Av, and that means father in Hebrew. Let's look at the next word. Amen. We know how to pronounce this because we have a kamatz. In other words, this is a guy, and he's got a big covering over him, a covering or a cap. That's kamatz. And then we've got now we have under the word amen, we have the sere. And the sere says a, long A sound. Like in the word yay, it's an A. So ah, and the mem, main, amen. Okay, our next letter is Beyt. And this is what it looks like. It just looks like, basically it looks like a number 2. It's been squashed a little, doesn't it? But the Beyt is something important for us to know right off with that letter, is that this tail here is important. If you don't have this tail, what you have left is a kaf and not a beit. So this tail is really important. And let's look at the way that Beyt is spelled. It's B-Y-T, Yod and Tau. The Beyt has a dot in it, a dagesh, so that makes it the plosive sound. So it's the B sound, not the V. So it's ba, ba. And then we have a sere underneath, which carries the A sound. So that is bay, bait. But look at the T, at the tau. It's a fricative because it has no dagesh, so it gets the TH sound. So it's Beyt. Beyt, like Beyt Lechem, house of bread. Okay, now we have the word Abba. And it's an Aleph with a patak, so it's an A sound. Kamatz, because it's got a cap. And then we have the B sound because it is not the fricative, it has a plosive sound. And then the following Beyt has also the plosive sound. So Ab, Ba. This is the patak, the plain line, and that means A sound as well. There's not any difference that I can actually tell between the sound of the kamatz and the patak. But it's because I'm not an Ashkenazi or Sephardic Hebrew. Okay, this simply means Abba. And we know what Abba is. And of course you say, well, Brother Ken, Abba is a Hebrew word, not an English word. Well, I speak some Hebrew, and I'm very familiar with the word Abba. So it's a good explanation for me, a good choice of words. Then we have the next word is, this is supposed to have a dagesh, and I'll put one in it right quick. Okay, because this is not a vein, this is a then, this is a ben. And ben is the word for sun. Beyt, and this is a noon. Now you might not know because we haven't covered this letter yet. A noon is one of the letters that can have a final form, and that is called the sofit. S-O-F-E-E-T, like your feet. Sofit. And so this is the noon sofit. This area down, let me get the line to. This area here is below the line. If you put the Beyt in the line, like you see up here at the top left corner, I have the Beyt, and it is encased in a line. There's supposed to be 4 equal quadrants. We only use 3 of them actually to write the Hebrew language. But you got 4 quadrants, and this Beyt fits in the quadrants. Well, the noon here, the noon comes below because it is a final form, and all the final forms come below the 4 quadrants. So it gets out of line, so to speak. But the sound is seg, egg, se. This is be, ben, ben. And that means sun. Okay. The next letter is Gimmel. And Gimmel is spelled Gimel, Mem, Lamed. And you can see in the pronunciation, we have a new pronunciation dot here, and that is the Hirik, H-I-R-I-K, or Q, Hirik. And the Hirik makes the I sound. The Hirik makes an I sound when it's by itself, like as in fish or fish-ish. If it is followed by a yod, you have a Hirik yod. The Hirik makes an E sound, long E, like in Elohim, keep, sweep. But in this case, it's not followed by a yod, so it is the I sound, like as in the word fish. And the Gimmel has a dagish in it, so it is a plosive word, so it's Gimmel. And if it is not plosive, it would say g, g. You don't put your tongue all the way to the roof of your mouth, and you try to say the G sound, just barely touching the roof of your mouth with your tongue. G, g. Anyway, this is G, and it's Gimmel, Gimmel. And the segel has an E sound, so it's E, Gim, El, Gimmel. Now, a couple of words for Gimmel would be Gadol, like the Kohen Hagadol, the high priest, the great priest. And we have a Kamatz, which is an A sound, with the Gimmel, which has also a dot, and I didn't put it in it, but I'll put one now. Okay, that's a big one, but it's all right, you'll understand. Okay, so this is Ga, and then you have the Daleth, which is also a part of the BeGeD KeFeT. That's an acronym for the ones that change their sound if they have a dagish or if they have no dagish. And the Daleth, of course, is the D sound, duh, Daleth, or the sound. That's the easy fricative D sound. Okay, so but this one is the plosive because it has the dagish. And then you can see above this is a wall, and above the wall is a dot called a cholam. And cholam makes the sound that you hear when you pronounce the word cholam. It's O, long O, cholam. Okay, so this is Gadol, Gadol, great high priest, Kohen Hagadol. And we have another word here. It's got a dagesh in the center of it, so it is the G, hard G sound. And this has another vowel pointer here that we haven't seen yet, and this is the shuruk. And the shuruk makes the sound oo. So shuruk. And if this is what you see, it will be on the side of the following a vav, a wall. I call it a vav. Oh, phew. Okay, a wall. So that is shuruk. Okay, and so this would be goof. Goof. You have the fricative sound because the pay here, the final pay, this is the final pay as a matter of fact. Look at the other letters and you can see this goes down below. So that is a final pay. And it does not have the dagesh, so the sound is not pa, but it's fa, the fricative sound, fa. So this word would be goof, and goof means body. I guess if a fellow was muscled up, you'd say, oh, he's goofy. I wouldn't tell him that, would you? Okay, let's go on to our next word. Now we come to the letter Daleth. If you notice, the Daleth has a patak under the Daleth, and that's an ah sound. That's a kamatz, so it has the ah sound. And then under the lamed, it has the segol, so it's an eh sound. And then there's no dogish, so you get the fricative th sound. So Daleth, Daleth. And it would be spelled in English as D-A-L-E-T-H, Daleth. Now in modern Hebrew, whether it's Dalet or Daleth, it doesn't matter. In the ancient Hebrew, they paid attention to the sound. So I'm going to pay attention too, just because that's the way it is. Okay, Daleth can be door. Look at the difference between Daleth and Daleth. This is a patak, so it's got the ah sound. It's a hard D, so it's the duh sound. And that's supposed to be over here as well. I missed it. So that's not the sound. It's a hard D on Daleth. But this is an I sound like fish. So it's Daleth. Daleth. And that means a door. And here we have a Daleth with the dagesh, and also a Gimmel with a dagesh. So it would be hard D, duh, and hard G, guh. And it is underlined by a kamatz. So that is the ah sound. So we have da, dog. And if I said, what kind of dog do you have? You might say Chihuahua. I said, no, I mean fish. But that dog is the word for fish. So don't get those confused. You might be eating something that your neighbor is going to be angry with you about. Okay, we have the final letter for tonight is hey, just like in the English we say hey. And you can see that the hey fits within the four quadrants well, does not go outside of the four quadrants, and that it has one stroke that goes around like this and then another smaller stroke that does not meet here. If it meets there, you've got a different letter. You've got a chet instead of a hey. So make sure that there is a space there. And the actual letter is spelled hey Aleph, and you can see the sere down below it here, meaning that is an A sound. So it is hey. Now, you guys are probably asking, what has you got a Daleth up here for? Well, because on the Daleth last time, I did not point out that a Daleth will always have this little section here on top of it. It don't just come straight down. It has this section, this little tail on the leading edge. That makes this a Daleth. If you didn't have that tail there, it would be like a resh, and could be confused with a final kaf as well. But this is what makes this a Daleth, is this tail right here. Okay, and I just wanted to point that out to you. Sorry, I forgot it earlier. Okay, now we have a halik. A halik is a wanderer. And you can see ha, and then I, like fish, ik. And if this is a hirik yod, it will be e, but there's no yod following, so it's just a hirik, and that's I. So we have Halich. And this is a shuruk, and I think it just means that it makes the sound instead of just ka. Okay, the final word, I have not written anything under it because I don't want to spoil the secret. This is ha, lay, and this is a doubler in here. It's not just a dagesh, but it's a dagesh that doubles the letter. It's called the chazak, or the forte. Dagesh, dagesh forte. Chazak in the Hebrew. And you have a sere, so this means that this is two L's here, aside from this third L here. So hal, lay, a sound with the sere. Hale, el, hallel. Hallel means to praise. And if we say hallel, lu, this is a wall and it's got the dot beside it. That means it's the u sound, shuruk. This is a shuruk. So hallelu, and this is a yod with a kamatz under it, meaning that's an ah sound following. Ya, ya. And then we have something fantastic at the end here. And this is not an uncommon thing. We have a hey, which is a guttural. Hey is a guttural letter. It's a letter that's spoken from the back of the throat, like resh, and like ayin, and like Alef, and like chet. Well, this means, in this case, it's a mapik, and we'll be talking more about those later. But this is a mapik, and we want to know that by this mapik, this is telling us that something is special here about this. It's supposed to be pronounced. It's a hey with more emphasis on pronunciation. So it's yah, 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 almost like yaha, yah. It's the extra flow of the air after you pronounce the hey. So it's hallelujah, hallelujah. And that just shows us that it certainly is the Father's name. Aren't you glad that I didn't spoil the surprise by writing hallelujah underneath this? Okay, now what I'm going to do is I am going to get out of here. We'll get rid of all of this, and I am taking you onto a little journey. Let me get, okay. I wanted to share something with you now that you've got a little bit under your belt about the pronunciation. And I wanted to specifically point out a time where our Father, Yah, is telling Moshe, his name is actually Moshe. I'll go up here and I will, let me increase the screen. Okay. So that you can see, this is a mem with a cholam above it. So that is Mo. And then this is a sheen because the dot is on the leading edge of the sheen. So that is a sh sound. So it's Mosh. And then the segel underneath the sheen tells us that it's an sound, like egg. Moshe. Moshe is the name of the one we call Moses. Now, I'll see if I can get over here without being, yeah, here we go. Okay. There's three words that I want to go over here with you. And the first one is the name of Yisrael. It's a Hirik Yod because the Yod is following the Hirik. So it is a Yi. sound. Ye, and then look at the sheen. It is not a sheen, it's a seen, because the dot is above the top left of the letter. That's a following, and that means it is a seen. So it's a S sound only. So, and it's got a shava underneath it. So when you pronounce that, it's over. That's the end of the syllable. So this is yis, and then you start with the next syllable. We have a kamatz under a resh, and this is ra, and then we have a seri under an aleph, which an aleph has no sound of its own, but the seri is an a sound. Yis, yis, ra, el, el. Okay, that's Yisrael, and that's the correct pronunciation, even if you are in Yisrael. And then we have another word, another name, is a name that we want to go over. And we have, if we see it in English, they type it in as Yahweh. Well, they're typing it in here different from how they're typing it in here. In here. That is a shava or a shawa under the yod, meaning that sound is prominent there. It's yah, yah. And then you have a wall, and they absolutely, they do say that it is a wall because they're putting Yahweh. They're starting the second syllable with a W, a wall. But look what's under the wall. It is a kamatz. And what sound does a kamatz make? Ah sound. So it's not Yahweh. If it was Yahweh, that would be not a kamatz, but a sere that is under the wall. That would be Yahweh, but the way it's written in the Hebrew is the original way that you were supposed to say it. It's Yahweh. 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 I thought you guys would like that. Okay, and then where they're writing God, it's actually Elohei. Notice the Siri underneath the hey. That means that it's pronounced A. So Elohei. That is not the same as Elohim, but maybe the Father was wanting to point out that this was his name. So he lists only Elohei, which is not the plural like Elohim. It's Elohei. So I thought you guys would be interested in hearing that. And let me get out of this and tell you all, Shalom.